Salutations and welcome to another edition of PTV FC. We have a lot to talk about today as we haven't really been in studio too often or been on Zoom for that matter. But boys, before we get into it, how are you doing?
Doing great, Louie. Excited to be back here in the studio. Second edition of PTV FC Live. Couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, you know, it's been a really long time since we did an episode. It's been about a month. We have been slacking a little bit, but we're back and better than ever, hopefully. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, Jimmy, and as you said, it is PTV Live, whichever side of my body it's on, there it is. So I'm happy to be in studio as well. But we have to talk about probably the biggest headline in the Premier League, which is Jimmy's guy, Cristiano Ronaldo. He scored 5 goals in 6 games in both European as well as Premier League competition. He really looks at place here at Manchester United. So, Jimmy, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Ronaldo's play thus far?
I mean, what more is there to say about Cristiano Ronaldo? He is the best player in the Premier League, best striker in the Premier League. Every time that he comes on the field, he comes with such a presence. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, especially in the biggest league in the world. He has been a revelation for Manchester United, a team that, albeit they do have a pretty good attacking lineup, he brings their attacking lineup to the next level. He is, like I just said, the best player in the Premier League. He's almost automatic. Every time that he plays, he pretty much scores a goal. He's got 5 goals in 5 games in England. Then he didn't score one against West Ham in the EFL Cup. But he's got fantastic chemistry with Bruno Fernandes, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League as well. He obviously shares the same nationality with him, being both Portuguese. So he is honestly unstoppable at times. He is the best finisher in the world, the best striker in the world, and I can't wait to see how this season ends for him.
Better finisher than Messi.
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's a bold take.
All right.
But, you know, definitely shout out to Ronaldo, man. He's been killing it so far this year. Big goals, big times. You know, he's done it throughout his entire career, and he has definitely continued that so far this year. Just hit a game winner against Villarreal in the Europa League. So, I mean, there's not much more you can say about the guy. He reminds me of LeBron, the way that he's just continued to perform so well so late into his career. They're both just insane physical specimens, and he's been killing it so far. I do feel a little bit bad for some of the younger players at Man United that they're not getting some of the playing time that they might expect or might even deserve. But I don't think you can fault Ronaldo for that. He's just doing his job, and it's producing results.
And for me, it just feels right to have Ronaldo back at his club in the Premier League and playing at a high level at that too. Ronaldo is going to push this club and propel this club into having a really, really good finishing spot this season. It's going to be interesting to see where they do finally end up. And the LeBron comparison is good because it seems that every team he goes to, he has success. I mean, Juve, now back with Manchester United. He is obviously the real deal, and any doubters are now silenced with how he's begun. And I also think that he will continue to play at the level in which he's playing at. Plus, I also think it's going to help in European competition for Manchester United as well. I think that they're going to have success in that as well, not only the Premier League. And Ronaldo is just as an amazing player, as both of you have mentioned. There's really not too much to say about him. Everyone knows just how good Ronaldo is, and he's just continuing to prove it. But now we're going to move on to a team that is not in as good of a spot as Manchester United is, and that's Leicester City. Currently, they're 13th in the Premier League, which comes, I guess, as a little bit of a surprise, but it's still early in the season. So are you concerned, or is this just a product of it being only 6 games in?
You know, I'm definitely a little bit concerned. I wouldn't go as far to say as I'm like sweating bullets for them right now because, like you said, it is still early in the season. But they're just not looking too great. I mean, they just lost a game against Lechia Warsaw, 1-0, and that's a club that I had no idea existed before I saw that they beat Leicester City. And the thing is, Jamie Vardy is in good form, too. He's still been scoring, and they just can't seem to get results. It just seems like the defense is just leaky. They've let in 10 goals or something like that so far in the Premier League, even though they've scored 7, I believe. And that's just not a winning formula for this squad. You know, you've got to be much better in the defense. And like I said, I don't think you should be terrified right now, but I would definitely be a little bit concerned if I was a Leicester fan.
And I'm a little bit with you here, man. I'm not completely concerned with how Leicester have played over the first month and a half of the season. They're 6 points off of 5th place, which is where I think they're going to finish. I think they're a 5th, 6th place side for this season. They are 2-1-3, and their 3 losses have come to Man City, who are just a better team than them. Let's not kid ourselves. West Ham, who are close to being as good as Leicester. Maybe Leicester's a little bit better, but losing to West Ham, it's not a big deal. Then the loss against Brighton. And to keep it a little bit family-friendly here, but that was kind of a BS loss, I think. VAR was wrong on 3 separate occasions with goals there, with the first goal for Brighton coming off a corner in which one of the players, I think it was Vestergaard for Leicester, who got fouled completely, but VAR didn't even take a look at it, and the goal stood for Brighton. The second goal that was wrongly disallowed was for Leicester, and that was a goal. I believe they thought Harvey Barnes was offside, which he wasn't offside. They didn't even take a look at that. And then the third one, I forget what exactly it was, but someone else they thought was offside, but he didn't affect the play. So there were 3 instances there where Leicester were pretty much given the game away to Brighton. If they win that game, they're only 3 points back of 5th place. They're right there in the dogfight to get one of those European spots. I'm not completely, comfortable with how Leicester have started the season. I think that they're a good team. I think they'll get it together. And the injury to Wesley Fofana here in the preseason, huge loss. That's why their defense is being, so bad this early in the season. But I think they'll get it together. I still expect them to get into the Europa League next season.
I would agree with you guys. I'd say a little bit of concern, but I'm not ready to jump ship and say, oh, Leicester is done for the year. The fact that Jamie Vardy has been scoring is encouraging because he's still in form, like you said. He's still the Jamie Vardy we all know and love. But it is concerning a little bit because if he's scoring and playing well, then why aren't they winning games? And again, could be a product of early in the season. But I'm a bit concerned. They're a bit lower than I would like them to be. They're defensively, I looked it up, and I believe it's 1.67 goals against average, which isn't horrible by any means. But Kasper Schmeichel, excuse me, he could play, in my opinion, be playing a little bit better. I think that the defense is where they're going to have to step up if they really want to go forward and be a little bit of a better team and finish a little bit higher in the table than they are currently. I think that's going to be where the change is going to happen. And, of course, Jamie Vardy, I have faith that he'll continue this good form throughout relatively most of the season. So I think this is more of a product of it being early in the season rather than this team is not good or this team is struggling. Now I'm going to open up the floor and have a little bit of a roundtable discussion here. I want you guys to just talk about one team in the entire Premier League and just tell me your thoughts about them, tell me your predictions, whatever you have. Just talk about one team.
Well, you guys know who I'm going to choose if you've been following the podcast for a little bit now. Got to talk about my Gunners. Arsenal. We've won our last 3 games, all right? I'm absolutely soaring right now. I am flying very, very high. I mean, that win against Tottenham in the North London Derby, I haven't felt that happy as an Arsenal fan literally in years. It has literally been years since I was that happy as an Arsenal fan, okay? Years, I'm telling you.
Multiple.
Big shout out to my close personal friends, Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka. Love those guys, my close personal friends. Smith-Rowe, goal and assists, and Saka with the goal in the North London Derby. We looked really good in that North London Derby. I'm not going to lie to you guys. And if we can play with that same intensity, especially on the counterattack, because Tottenham just could not stop us at all on the counterattack in that first half. If we can match anywhere near that intensity over the next few games, we could actually be looking not that bad. I know I wrote an article in WSOU flaming Arsenal. Maybe they listened. Maybe they actually read it. No. But the next 5 games, in my opinion, are going to be very crucial for Arsenal moving forward because this is where they can really separate themselves from that relegation zone, from even that middle of the table, and establish themselves as potentially contenders for European football next season. I mean, next 5 games, you got Brighton, who admittedly have been playing very well. They've been in very good form. Crystal Palace, obviously, not the best team. Aston Villa, again, not the best, even though they did just beat Manchester United. Not the best team, especially without Jack Grealish. Leicester City, who we just talked about, has been struggling. And Watford, who, again, just not very good. Last year, they were absolutely horrible. I mean, these are 5 very winnable games, and we really need to put a little bit of cushion, a little bit of breathing room between us and the relegation zone before we get into teams like Liverpool, teams like Manchester United. Harder matchups for us. But I'm very hopeful that that Tottenham game actually made me happy for once as an Arsenal fan. And that's something I can't say very often.
And one of the teams that I wanted to highlight is the team that actually took down Arsenal in the first match week of the season. That's Brentford. Shout out to the Brentford Bees, man. I mean, they're in 9th place right now. They're 2-3-1, and they've been punching well above their weight at this point in the season. A lot of people thought that they were going to get relegated this year because they just got promoted, and they weren't sure how it was going to develop their gameplay in the Premier League, but they have 7 different goal scorers, and the top goal scorer is 2 with Ivan Toney, which, I mean, that's not the best thing in the world, but that just shows you that you can't just rely on one guy to score your goals. As a defense, you can't just focus on one player, because if you focus on Ivan Toney, then some of these other guys like Campos or some of these other dudes, they're going to go in and score. They're 2-3-1. They beat Arsenal. They beat Wolves, so those are 2 pretty good teams. They drew with Crystal Palace, who I think they're a better team than. They probably should have won that game. They also drew with Aston Villa, and this past weekend they drew 3-3 with Liverpool, which is an absolutely crazy result to have. I think Liverpool is one of the best teams, obviously, in the league, but I think they're one of the best teams in the world as well. They've only conceded 4 goals this season as well, which is absolutely astonishing, especially 6 games into the season. I expect to see Brentford finish mid-table this year, and this is a perfect start for them as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Jimmy, I'm happy you mentioned a small club playing well, because that kind of is a good segue into my team that I'm going to talk about, which is West Ham, which I'm sure anyone could have thought of if they watched the podcast, much like how Ryan talked about Arsenal. But West Ham is currently 7th with 11 points because there's a 5-way tie for second. They're only 2 points out of second place. But again, that's much like Leicester. It's a product of being early in the season. I actually did write an article, not roasting West Ham like you did for Arsenal, but I wrote an article saying that West Ham can and will be playing in European competition next year, and I genuinely believe that. I think they're going to either do well enough in the Europa League competition to then play again, or they're going to finish high enough in the Premier League table. David Moyes, he is such a good manager. I was doing a lot of research about him. Everywhere he goes, he wins. He's one of the most winningest managers in Premier League. He's up there with the top dogs.
Apart from Manchester United, that's the one place they didn't win.
Yes, he did struggle at Manchester United, but other than that, you're correct, Jimmy.
A lot of people struggled at Manchester United.
Ronaldo didn't, though.
Well, he's not a manager.
Oh, yeah.
He pretty much is the manager now.
Yeah, now he is. Sir Lewis Ferguson's not there anymore. But anyway, David Moyes wins wherever he goes. I think the winning culture will continue. There's a lot of good players on this roster. Antonio and Susik both combined for 10 goals last year, or they both had 10 individually, which is fantastic. It was really cool to see, and I really think that they can continue that good form into this year. So I think West Ham is going to win a lot of games, and they're going to play well, turn people's heads for the 2nd year in a row. But finally, this little last segment I want to get into is a way too early top 4 prediction for the Premier League. And Jimmy, I'll start with you.
So I think we all have probably the same teams in our top 4, just a little bit of a different order. I think that this is a really, really tough year to try to rank who's going to come first to 4th. But so far from what we've seen this season, I'm going to say that Manchester City is going to be the champions. I think they're going to repeat. I think they have a great squad depth. I think they have one of the best managers in the world. And they just brought in Jack Grealish, who's looked very good thus far. They beat Chelsea very convincingly. They should have probably had 3 goals in that game if Rudiger didn't clear 2 goals off the line against Manchester City. 2nd place, I got Liverpool, a team that I am very scared of as a Manchester United fan. Seems like every time that we play each other, Liverpool pretty much takes it to Manchester United and wins by 2+ goals. They've looked very good. Van Dijk's back to his best, and I expect to see them fighting for the title until the very last week of the season. 3rd place, I think it's going to be Manchester United. I think that when I did my predictions earlier in the season, I had Manchester United finishing in 1st, but I'm a little bit skeptical of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer right now and the lack of holding midfielder. Now that you're playing McTominay and Fred in the midfield, there's sometimes a liability, especially in the bigger games. So I know Ronaldo will probably do his scoring. Cavani will do his scoring. When Rashford comes back, he'll be very good. But I think Manchester United right now are a third-place team. Fourth, I got Chelsea. I think that they had a really bad week this week, losing to City, and they lost to Juventus in the Champions League, a very, very weak Juventus team. I'm not sold on Chelsea. I think Lukaku isn't necessarily the player that you need to win the title. And we've seen him play in big games thus far this season, not scoring against Manchester City, not scoring against Liverpool, not scoring against, who's the other one? Juventus. They didn't score against Juventus either. So Lukaku, he's going to score against your Burnleys and your Newcastles, your Arsenals, yes, yes, Ryan. But he's not going to be scoring against any of these big teams, and these are the big teams that you need to beat to be able to win this title. I don't think that Chelsea's. They do have a little bit of squad depth, but their squad depth isn't going to beat you. They'll keep you in games, but they're not going to beat you. So I got Man City in first, Liverpool in second, United in third, and then Chelsea in fourth.
Yeah, my top four is actually very, very similar to Jimmy's. Man City first, I still believe. I don't like to bet against Pep, especially in the Premier League. I mean, in the Champions League, you've got a case. You know, he's definitely struggled with Man City in the Champions League, but he's proven time and time again that he knows how to win in the Premier League with Manchester City. I mean, this squad just executes to perfection year in, year out. And I don't think this year is going to be any different, even without Sergio Aguero up top, because it hasn't even mattered for them so far. You know, they've still been putting goals past people like it's nothing. You know, like you said, they should have beat Chelsea by like 3 goals, and only ended up beating them by 1. Very convincing result. Yeah, I'm with Man City in the title, as I think I said in the preseason predictions. And then right behind them, I think it's a toss-up, honestly. I could see Liverpool definitely taking it as well. Fully healthy Liverpool, Van Dijk in the back line. It seems like their defensive issues from last season have been addressed.
Yeah, they finally have a center back on the roster that isn't injured.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the best in the world at that in Van Dijk, if not the best in the world. So I'm definitely looking forward to watch Liverpool play more this season. I believe they're the only team that hasn't lost a game yet, if I'm right.
Yeah, they're undefeated thus far.
Yeah, 4-2-0 or something like that.
Yeah, 4-2-0.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to watching them play a bit more coming up in the season. Then third, I do have Chelsea. I like Thomas Tuchel. What he did last year with that Chelsea squad was great. He's coming in with Romelu Lukaku that was absolutely electric at Inter last season. And though he hasn't, you don't agree?
I mean, was he the top scorer in Serie A last year? Ronaldo was.
Why are you just hating on my mans?
He just doesn't like Inter as a whole, man.
Yeah, I mean the Serie A is kind of a cupcake league.
Well, it's a defensive league.
Oh, did Juve win it last year?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
What team won it last year?
It was Inter.
I
think I could have managed Juventus better than Andrea Pirlo did.
Oh, okay.
Playing Bernardeschi at left back, playing Quadrado at right back. What are they doing?
Crazy how, you know, Ronaldo can't even win a cupcake league. That's wild.
Well, he did the previous 2 seasons.
But no, it's cool. Anyways, Chelsea is third, and then Manchester United fourth. I'm just not quite sold on them yet so far. You know, with that loss to Aston Villa, they haven't really played anyone that special yet, and it's really going to be a big test for them when they actually do play a good team. So right now I have them in fourth. That could go higher, obviously, but I'm just not completely sold on Manchester United yet.
Well, you guys are very, very good at persuading, because now I'm thinking of changing my list around. I mean, I thought about it. I was going to change it. I didn't. Now I'm going to change it. But no, I'll just stick with what I have. So for me, I have Liverpool at number 1, and I think it's because of the record that they have at Anfield. They have such an advantage at home. They play so well. Playing behind a home crowd that wills you to victories day in and day out is such an advantage that not many teams have. Liverpool does have it.
Best home field advantage in the world.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Liverpool, again, look through the past 3 years, they've lost, like 2 games at home. It's really nuts. I mean, maybe last year they would have lost more because they didn't have their starting 11. When they have Liverpool starting 11 at home, then they'll lose. As simple as that. So for me, Liverpool at 1. And then I'm going to go Chelsea at 2, which is kind of a dark horse pick here. I really like how they play. Like I said, I mean, last year I was all about promoting and hyping up Thomas Tuchel. Jimmy, you did talk about the few losses they had early in the season. So I'll look for them to bounce back. But if they don't, then they could be in trouble. If we're halfway through the season having these conversations, then I might start to worry. But as of right now, I'm not worried about Chelsea. They have so much squad depth as well. Really they have a lot of players that can work their way into the starting 11 when needed. So I'm not too worried. Chelsea at number 2, and then Manchester United and Ronaldo at 3. Ronaldo will win games single-handedly. He did against West Ham. That was very heartbreaking for West Ham and all of their supporters, me being like half a West Ham supporter. I didn't really like to see that, Jimmy. But just another thing to look at Ronaldo and just be baffled at how good he is. Ronaldo is the focal point of this team, and also he has good chemistry with the rest of the team. And early on, too, I was looking to see how that was going to go. But from what I've seen, he does have quite good chemistry with the rest of Manchester United. So the Ronaldo-led Manchester United Red Devils will finish 3rd over Manchester City, who you guys, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I did not think they'd play this well without Sergio Aguero. They proved me wrong. Like you guys have said, they just continue to put goals in the back of the net. Aguero or not, in this case, it isn't. It's just they have just been scoring. So that might change. Their 4th place spot very well might change later in the season. But as of right now, I'll leave them at 4. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out, and you will have to tune in to more episodes of PTV FC. But for now, this is it. We have finished this episode. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and stay tuned in for all things soccer all year round.